Over 4 million tons of olives are harvested every year in southern Spain alone. From this massive production comes one of the world's most loved snacks, stuffed olives. But turning a small, bitter fruit into a perfectly filled appetizer requires speed, precision, and careful control at every step. To find out, we visited one of the largest olive-growing regions in the world and a major processing plant to discover how one of the most popular appetizers is made. In the south of Spain, vast fields stretch across the landscape with more than 66 million olive trees. With more than 2.5 million hectares dedicated to olive cultivation, Spain is considered the world leader in olive production. The Manzanilla variety is the most commonly used for stuffed olives. It is known for its uniform size, firm flesh, and small pit that is easy to remove. These qualities make it ideal for filling without breaking. The soil in this region is rich in clay, which holds moisture well and gives strong support to the roots of the trees. Combined with warm days and cool nights, typical of the inland Mediterranean climate, these conditions help the olives develop firm flesh and a balanced flavor. The harvest usually takes place between October and January, when the olives reach their ideal size, but before they fully ripen. When the olives turn a deep and even green color, farmers know it is time to harvest. This moment begins a race against time. If harvesting is delayed, the fruit can soften, oxidize, or lose quality. To collect them, large nets are spread under the trees. Machines equipped with vibrating arms grip the trunk and shake it for a few seconds. During that short time, thousands of olives fall like green rain onto the nets. In just minutes, a tree can be completely cleared. Speed is essential because olives begin to deteriorate as soon as they fall from the tree. For this reason, producers work hard to transport each load from the fields to the factory within 3 hours. Once at the factory, the olives must go through a curing process before they can be eaten. Fresh olives are extremely bitter due to a natural compound called oleuropein. This substance protects the tree, but makes the fruit almost inedible if not treated. To remove the bitterness, the olives are placed in large tanks filled with brine, where more than 10,500 kilograms of fruit can be stored at once. Before being fully submerged, they receive an alkaline treatment that helps break down the oleuropein and allows the brine to penetrate the flesh. During curing, which can last up to 9 months, natural lactic bacteria cause fermentation. Slowly, the firm and bitter fruit becomes softer, with a mild and slightly salty taste. This transformation is essential for creating the final product. After fermentation, the olives are transported through a system of pipes from the large tanks to the cleaning area. Here, leaves, stems, small branches, and any plant material are removed. All organic waste collected during this stage is sent to compost production, supporting a more sustainable process. Next, the olives move to a sorting machine. This device uses a series of ropes with gradually widening gaps. Smaller olives fall through first when they reach an opening, slightly larger than their diameter. Medium-sized ones drop further along the line, while the largest continue until they reach the correct spacing. Each size group falls into its own brine-filled container, automatically separated. The next stage is the pitting room, where the olives are prepared for filling. The process begins in a rotating drum divided into cavities shaped exactly like the olives. As the drum turns, each olive settles into its own slot, preventing damage. Once aligned, they move onto a conveyor belt that carries them to the pitting machine. This high-speed machine, capable of processing up to 1,000 olives per minute, removes the pit without harming the flesh. A blade enters one end of the olive and pushes the pit out through the other side, creating a clean hole perfectly sized for filling. After pitting, the olives undergo a quality inspection. Workers carefully examine each one, removing any that show defects, bruises, or damaged flesh. Only olives that meet strict standards of size, firmness, and appearance move forward to the filling stage. Modern equipment then fills the olives quickly and evenly. In this case, they are filled with anchovy paste. The filling is made from anchovy blended with alginate, a natural gel that gives the paste the right firmness. This allows it to be injected smoothly without leaking. The gel helps the filling hold its shape and fit neatly into the cavity left by the pit. Quality control remains constant during this stage. Specialists monitor the line, checking for imperfections or inconsistencies. Sometimes an olive may still contain a pit. To prevent this from reaching the final product, a device called a tensiometer detects irregularities before the olives continue along the line. Next, the olives enter a brine bath designed for separation by flotation. Stuffed olives, which are lighter and evenly filled, float to the surface. Any olives that still contain a pit are heavier and sink. This simple yet effective system ensures that no unpitted olives move forward. After separation, the olives receive a final rinse to remove excess brine and any remaining impurities. The packaging process then begins. Jars are loaded onto a filling line that can handle up to 100 jars per minute. Baskets of stuffed olives are emptied onto a conveyor, and empty jars move forward in an orderly line. Each jar is filled one by one. Before sealing, the jars pass under taps that add fresh brine. This liquid is prepared with the correct salt concentration to preserve the olives and maintain their flavor and texture. A stream of pressurized air removes excess liquid, preventing spills and preparing the jars for a tight seal. The brine not only enhances taste, but also acts as a natural preservative. It protects the olives from harmful microorganisms and gives them a shelf life of up to 2 years. Each jar then receives a printed serial number, allowing full tracking of every batch from production to sale. After that, a labeling machine applies the adhesive label, displaying the product name, brand, and expiration date. The jars are packed in groups of 12 onto trays, which are wrapped in plastic for protection during transport and storage. Once this process is complete, the products are ready to be shipped to stores and homes around the world. Precision, speed, and a whole lot of dough. Welcome to the heart of the instant noodle factory. It all starts with the perfect shape. Automated lines guide these iconic noodle blocks through the final stages of the production line, ensuring every piece is uniform and ready for the bowl. Sheets are sliced into thin strands and waved to create that signature crinkle. This texture isn't just for looks. It helps the noodles cook faster and hold onto more flavor. The noodles are then cut and dropped into circular molds. This ensures they fit perfectly into standard packaging. Notice how the machinery precisely aligns each batch for the next phase. The noodles travel through a steaming or frying tunnel to pre-cook them. This flash heating process is what allows you to enjoy a meal in just 3 minutes at home. Each noodle block meets its flavor companion, the seasoning packet. High-speed dispensers drop the sachets onto the blocks at lightning speed. Finally, the noodles are wrapped in moisture-proof packaging. Every second, hundreds of these classic treats move through a high-speed symphony of engineering. Fresh batter is baked into thin wafers and instantly rolled into a cone shape while still warm. But here's the clever part. A spray of rich chocolate coats the inside. This creates a moisture barrier that keeps the waffle crisp and prevents the ice cream from making it soggy. Next, the cones are lined up for the main event. High-precision nozzles inject velvety vanilla ice cream, filling every nook and cranny, right down to that famous chocolatey tip at the bottom. A quick swirl on top gives it that signature soft serve look. Before the toppings can go on, the cones take a trip through a deep freeze tunnel. This blast of sub-zero air hardens the ice cream instantly, making sure it stays perfectly in place for the next step. Now for the best part, the frozen cones are inverted and dunked into a vat of thick, melted chocolate. While the shell is still wet, they are showered in crunchy roasted peanuts. The cold ice cream snaps the chocolate frozen almost instantly, locking those nuts in place. Finally, the finished drumsticks are wrapped, capped, and tucked into their boxes. From the oven to the freezer, it's a perfectly calibrated process, ready to be delivered to a freezer aisle near you. Next, we have a canned tuna factory, where the process begins with fresh tuna being unloaded from fishing vessels. The fish are chilled for transport to the facility, where they are cleaned and inspected for quality. The tuna is then pre-cooked, making it easy to remove the skin and bones. Once cooled, the meat is separated and packed into cans with water or oil. Finally, the cans are sealed, sterilized with heat, and labeled for the store. Here we have the fascinating process of making ice cream sandwiches in a factory. Machines perfectly place thick vanilla ice cream between two chocolate cookies before mechanical arms move them along a conveyor belt. Next, the sandwiches are wrapped in colorful plastic and sealed to stay fresh. Finally, the finished treats pile up at the end of the line, ready to be boxed and sent to stores. In this factory, thousands of pieces of frozen sushi are made every day to deliver fresh taste to customers. The process begins with selecting ingredients, including fresh fish, vegetables, and cooked rice. Next, skilled workers and automated machines place the fillings on sheets of seaweed and roll them tightly. The rolls are then cut into even pieces, keeping their shape and size consistent. To lock in freshness, the sushi is quickly frozen using special freezing machines that preserve flavor, texture, and nutrients. Once frozen, the pieces are carefully packed into boxes, labeled and sealed. These frozen sushi packs are stored at very low temperatures until they are shipped to supermarkets and restaurants. KitKat has been a favorite treat for both children and adults since it was first introduced in 1935, during what many people call the golden age of chocolate. One of Nestlé's factories produces more than 7 million KitKat bars every day. In the United Kingdom alone, about 1 billion bars are eaten each year. The production process is carefully organized so that most steps in the supply chain are located close to the factory. The only part that happens far away is the growing and harvesting of cocoa, which are mostly harvested in West Africa in March. After the beans are collected, they are placed under the sun to dry for about 7 days. Once dried, the beans are shipped to the production site in York. At the factory, the beans first go through a 3-hour cleaning process that removes dirt and other unwanted materials. After cleaning, rollers crush the beans to break them open. This step releases the cocoa seeds inside. The beans are then vibrated to break the shells and expose the inner pulp, which contains the rich and flavorful fat that gives chocolate its taste. The broken shells are removed using vibrating filters, while the inner part is sent to a large roaster. The roasting process is similar to roasting coffee beans. The exact temperature and roasting time are kept secret because they play an important role in creating the final flavor of the chocolate. Once roasting is finished, the cocoa is heated in special ovens, where heat and pressure release its deep chocolate flavor. The next step is the production of chocolate liquor, which contains cocoa butter. After the cocoa butter is separated from the solid parts, the remaining solids are processed into cocoa powder, a common product found in supermarkets. The cocoa butter is then mixed with cocoa powder, sugar, milk, and vegetable fats to create the chocolate used in KitKat bars. This mixture is blended in a giant 1-ton mixer, forming a thick and sweet chocolate paste. The chocolate goes through tempering. It is first heated and then cooled to about 27 degrees Celsius. This step controls how the chocolate crystals form and prevents a gray or dull layer from appearing on the surface. As a result, the chocolate keeps its shiny look and pleasant texture. At the same time, the wafers are prepared. Flour and water are mixed to form a dough, which is shaped into thin sheets and baked at 150 degrees Celsius. Once baked and cooled, the wafers are layered with a creamy filling, preparing them to become part of the famous KitKat bar. The assembly process begins by stacking the wafers with filling, similar to building a 3-layer sandwich. A wafer sheet is covered with filling, another wafer is added, and the stack is finished with a plain wafer layer. The filling is made from cocoa liquor, sugar, and a small amount of crushed KitKat bars. Bars that do not pass quality checks are crushed into a paste and reused as filling, which helps reduce waste. After about 16 hours of mixing, the chocolate is ready to form bars. Machines fill 336 molds every minute, producing more than 200,000 KitKat bars each day. Chocolate is poured into the molds to form the outer shell. The wafer stacks are placed inside, and another layer of chocolate seals the bar. The molded bars then pass through a cooling tunnel, where the chocolate hardens. Quality managers inspect the bars and remove any that have bubbles or cracks. These defective bars are crushed and reused in the filling. Finally, automated robots wrap the finished bars quickly so they are ready for packaging and distribution. The wrapped bars are placed in decorative packages and sent to a storage facility.